Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuper, one rental at a time. And yes, it is the three amigos. Just so you know, Matt is a little bit under the weather, so we're gonna see if his voice holds up. Matt, I want you to know that the most common question I was asked at the first one rental at a time mastermind was, "Where's Matt? Is Matt coming? Is he gonna be a surprise speaker at the end?" So you were missed. You were
I
missed by the
appreciate that.
fans.
I'm certainly missed the event. I watched Dion and Mike's live and looking forward to the rest of the stuff. I definitely missed being there. Thankfully, I wasn't there because I had this.
Yeah, you had whatever this petri dish is from the
Exactly.
kids.
Thank you, my kids. I love you.
There you go. There you go. Dion, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I have to admit, through the whole event, there was a small part of me hoping that you were duping us all and Matt was going to come out and wrap up speaker.
Yeah, he flew in. He's gonna fly out. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It would have been a big ask, that East Coast flight. Although I would say we had somebody come from Florida, so yeah, that was that
That's
was that
that's
was.
that's awesome.
That was
Well, yeah, all the military DC-10s that would have carried me out there were busy. So
good. Well, I thought what we should. Yeah, look at that. The first one rental at a time
Live
mastermind.
it's
mastermind.
awesome. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
I had to document it, and of course it's purple because that's just my color. But guys, I want to talk about a topic that Dion brought to us this morning, and it was very simple, and it'd probably just be the title of the video. It's basically, do you have a plan? Do you have a plan? And that's a simple question, but Dion, tell us what you were thinking.
So I've heard this quote several times that a wish written down becomes a goal broken down into steps becomes a plan. But I'm wondering how many people have even written down their goal. I've asked several times on my videos, in the comments below, please let me know what your freedom number is. So, hey, if you're watching this, in the comments down below, let us know what your freedom number is. Because getting you to write down that physical, what number did you choose of cash flow that you need coming in every month that you don't have to sell your life for 1 hour at a time. What is that number? Once you write it down, it's achievable. If it's just an ethereal number in your head, why get the first rental if you don't even have an actual goal? Once you have the goal, now you can break down the steps. So you guys have been investing for over 20 years. You have both played around in stocks before, and I'm going to say played around because you lost a bunch of money. So that's not investing.
You could just call it gambling. It's okay. I don't mind.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I gambled with a couple retirement accounts before I figured out finances and learned that money is made up and how it works. But that wasn't a dig on people who are investing in your retirement account, even though
Not yet.
dumb idea. Right. Yes, exactly. There it is. What was your plan? We'll start with Matt. So I'm stealing your channel, just starting to ask questions. But Matt, your plan when you first started with real estate outside of stocks, what's your plan look like?
Just lasts longer than FTX. No, FTX didn't exist then. The owner didn't. He was barely born. Honestly, the goal was that I didn't want to spend my entire life working for somebody else. And I know that I could have started a business or done any of these other things, but it's kind of tough to do that when you're a ninth grade dropout. You're basically living paycheck to paycheck, as you can possibly imagine. And so the idea was, when I got into software, I just said, I don't like the stock market. I lost almost all of my net worth in the stock market when it corrected in the .com crash. And I looked at it and said, I need to figure something else out that's going to give me income, because I don't know. I mean, you guys know Social Security conversation has been around forever. And I have no idea. I was doing the math and I'm saying, okay, in 2045, is Social Security going to be around? Like, everyone was saying, well, it's insolvent by 2037. So I was like, so probably not. And so I had to make another plan. So the plan was looking at what my other options were, and real estate seemed to, based on growing up a kid of a broker who was mildly successful, it made sense to me and I understood it. And so it was just a matter of further investigating and better understanding it to find out what my role would be.
Nice. Mike?
And so I had a couple of plans, right? Going back to the very beginning, after losing 80% of my liquid capital in the crash, for me, it was quite simply, I want a better retirement than my parents had.
Yeah.
My parents had it was very clear, even back then, they were still very much working, that their retirement, in my opinion, was going to be more stressful than I would like. right? And at the time I was 30, so they were in their early 50s. And I'm like, I don't want that, right? Money had always been a stressor in my life. I thought stocks were the answer. They were not, at least for me. And real estate quickly became something you could learn. You can create a competitive advantage. You can become very, very knowledgeable in a very, very small set of, in a very small window. And so that's where it started. It then quickly evolved into getting to 4, right? I talk about getting to 4 rentals all the time now. That was my first thing after getting Norris Drive. It was okay. We're gonna get to 4, and that was it. All right, I didn't have visions of 10 or 20 or let alone anything more than that. I knew in 2002 we would get to 4. I had no idea where it would go after that, but that's what I was working for. So that meant lowering my expenses because again, my capital was gone. So it was lowering expenses, keep looking, keep hunting, keep networking. And once we got to 4, then it became 10, and the goals evolved. But Matt and I are both commission-based salespeople, and we get a quota, and the clock starts, and it resets every 90 days.
Every
One of my
90
jobs, it reset every 30 days, right? Every
Yeah.
month, day one, right? June 1st, July 1st, it reset. So I've been breaking down goals into bite-sized chunks. I write them down. For me, that's very important. Like if you go back and watch me on an airplane, because again, I hate flying, I was either reading or writing in my notebook. I would write down plans for the housing, like, you know, look at this zip code, find 5 more, meet 2 new agents. I would write these things down just to keep my mind busy so I wouldn't be terrified of flying.
With all
So,
that,
and
with all that,
daily exercise.
with
Yeah.
all that international travel, you should have written 10 books. Mike, can I ask a real quick question? One of the things that I think you and I encounter a lot because of the vertical that we chose to be in tech is everybody has a 401k
Sure.
and everybody has stocks. Do you think that helped drive that behavior for you? I know it did for me because I felt like I was missing out on the conversation in the office because 100% of people had stock.
Yeah, it was certainly an accelerant for me. I would say my advanced education kind of made that the right answer. Like Warren Buffett was somebody we studied in school. Like here's a real embarrassing thing. So I'm in my first year of my master's program, and the teacher asks. I still remember the question because I when I get embarrassed, it's like like I'm going to remember that one, right? And the teacher asked, who has the most, like, what company is the highest share price? And I didn't know the answer. The answer was Berkshire Hathaway, right? Because everybody else was, this, that, the other. Berkshire Hathaway at the time was such a big stock, it couldn't even be quoted in the Wall Street Journal, right?
Yeah.
It was, I don't know, 10,000 or whatever it was.
Yeah, 50 probably.
Yeah, whatever it was. I'm like, I don't even know who the hell is Berkshire Hathaway. I mean, I knew who Warren Buffett was, but I never connected it to Berkshire Hathaway. So,
Sure.
yeah, I mean, I was destined to try stocks just with my education, I think. And then, yeah, being in tech with, everybody was in stocks, and they were all in the bullshit Webvan and pets.com and, Rhythms Network or whatever the hell it was called, 3Com. I mean,
CMGI.
CMGI.
Rooster.com. Swear to you, that was an actual company, Rooster.com.
It was. So yeah, and then again, everybody got in, and then they went on leverage, and then they went to options, and yeah, it was bad.
So there's 2 things I want to cover on the importance of a plan and why I think this is definitely a video worth making. And I think anybody who made it to this point of the video, hopefully this is a golden nugget you can file away. I would not have shared this 3 months ago, maybe 4 months ago when I was working at the CDL school, because this was a very diabolical way of doing things that was very effective. How do you get people to perform their best? So it was never tell people what to do. You guys would get quotas, and look how much you hate your job. Every 90 days or whatever, you could be fired because you have a quota that's given to you. So my staff didn't realize what was going on. And now that I don't work there, I could share this because some of them watch the content. I would go to staff because CDL school, you have instructors, right? And you have maintenance crews, but then you have sales staff. When you walk in to the office, somebody's got to tell you why a CDL career works for you or why it doesn't, right? You got to help you make that decision, but it's a sales position. So I would go to the staff and I would say, look, I need like an SOP, a breakdown of everything that you do. I need to justify to the owners why you exist. What all do you do? Write it down, like everything throughout a day, everything that you're responsible for from their opinion. So they're trying to justify the relevance and importance of their position. Imagine how in-depth that kind of write-up is. Once I have that, now I go, here's the metric I get to hold you to. I now, in 2 or 3 weeks, get to come back and go, did you do all of these things?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're investing in real estate and you don't have it written down, you haven't written down your plan, the unnamed arrow never misses. You can't fail. You can't not look at enough deals. You can't not make enough offers. You can't not buy enough properties. You can't increase your cash flow. You can't learn enough, study enough. You don't know what you're missing. So whatever you do is successful. If you write it down, the problem is people think if I write down my goals, now I can fail. If I say I'm going to do the work 30 minutes every day, I literally write down the sentence, I will do the work 30 minutes every day, look at deals, and then you miss a day, you have failed, right? So that concern comes where people don't want to write it down because now you're committed to it. So my original plan, and this is why I want you to understand that it's okay to write down a plan that you don't stick to 100%. My original plan was, because I owned a single family house, I understood it. I want to move into an apartment and rent the house out. And every 1 or 2 years, buy another single family house so that in 10 years, I literally wrote the words, in 10 years, have at least 5 single family rental properties that I have house hacked, right? Then I found out single family houses don't cash flow in my area, learned about small multifamily, adjusted my plan on the fly. So it was a written down plan that gave me something to improve as I found out that didn't work. Until you write it down, you won't know that you can do that. That's how important that is. So I hope people in the comments below, seriously, let us know. How are you starting your plan? What's the first 2 sentences of your plan?
Really good.
Yeah, again, the plan is everything, right? I talk about, right, buy box, daily discipline, all of that. That's a plan. And I expect people to write it down. I often get on stage and say, if your buy box isn't in your email, what are you doing, right? If it's not your signature line, what are you doing? You have to put it out there. You have to look at it every day. Again, it's funny. I got to some point, 3-4 years into this, had 5 or 6 units. Every time I got on an airplane, I'd turn over a blank sheet of paper. I would write down the street name of everything we owned. I would write down the rent number. I'd write down this, I'd write down that, and then write down next steps. It was just daily that, when you think about it that much and you're in it, you just never know when creative things happen and all of that. So yeah, I don't think people are writing it down enough, right? We're addicted to these devices, all of that. Take out a sheet of paper and write it down. Write it down. So Dion, closing thoughts?
Until you have a plan, I almost want to say this not with finality, but until you have a plan, I don't see success happening. That's how serious it is for me.
Matt?
Winston Churchill said, those who fail to plan to fail. It's literally just that simple. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So you need to have a plan. You need to be executing on that. And I think often landlords underestimate how important it is to be an operator of your business. I can tell you within $1,000 what my company brought in this month. Right.
So here's an example that you just kind of made me think of, Matt,
Sure.
of how important a plan is and how it can actually eliminate stress. So if you own a rental property, you're the landlord and you're sitting there and you're expecting, okay, at some point I'm going to get a phone call at 10 or 11 o'clock at night if you self-manage, maybe even from your property manager. Here's the emergency that's going on. You have a flood. You have a septic system that's backed up. You have a sewage system that's backed up. Imagine the panic. Oh no, what do I do? Right? But if you have a plan, if you have already detailed, here's the plumbers that have 24-hour emergency service in my area, right? Contact them, find out what their rates are to figure out which one's the best. This is the order I'm going to call them in. If the plan requires rehousing, here's how I would do it with the local VRBO, Airbnb, or hotel for the tenants. Like, have that all written down. You'll never think of the terrifying 10 o'clock at night call about your sewage or septic again, because when it happens, you'll just go, oh, go find that thing. This is what I do step by step. Yeah. No stress.
There's a reason why I'm as cool as the other side of the pillow. I have all that stuff planned out. It doesn't matter. I'm locked in. I know what happens in all of those scenarios. I know exactly who my first phone call is. And forget about calling and asking for rates at that point. I already know. I know it's the first, and I tell them when I call them, first one there wins. That's it. First one there wins. And I don't care if it's the demolition derby for them to get there. I'm going to get my problem fixed. They already know my name. They already have my credit card on file. And it's a very easy conversation. One of the pitches that we always use against other landlords is I have a primary and a backup plumber. I have a primary and a backup electrician. I have a primary and a backup maintenance person. I have a primary and a backup plow person. I have a primary and a backup emergency person. So at the end of the end, I also tell them, and you might see this face. Sorry, but I'm going to fix your problem. And when they hear that, they're just like, oh, I'm not going to have to hear from some management company or from some really big landlord. Well, it's on the list and we'll get to it when we can get to it. They actually understand that we are proactive in not addressing problems, but knowing that issues will arise and that they'll be taken care of very quickly.
Well said, Matt. Where can people find you?
Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube and on Instagram and live stream. Hopefully this Sunday, I expect my voice to be fully back then so I can shout.
And Dion?
Mike, really, thank you for putting together the Three Amigos. You can find me right here on One Rental at a Time in the Three Amigos playlist and on my own YouTube channel, Dion Talk Financial Freedom.
Thank you so much.